Yep. So let us start up with our today's session. So typically the main agenda. So this is the
Keval,
yeah
I
yeah yeah. Yes, Pujita.
Keval, I guess your voice is breaking for me. Is it same for everyone?
Yeah. Can anyone confirm if my voice is
Your voice is
breaking or is it
breaking for me actually.
okay? Can anyone else confirm if my voice is breaking?
Perfect.
Are you guys able to hear my voice properly? Not
Yeah,
sure.
it seems to be good. Yeah.
It is good, right? Okay. Okay. Sure. Pujita, I believe. Okay. So she might be rejoining. So let us start up with our today's session. So the main agenda for today's session will be, as this is the first session for our iOS penetration testing, right? So we will be understanding what actually are the basics of iOS penetration testing, right? What actually is the architecture and all of the basics we will be covering up in our today's session. Along with that, I will be showing you the process on how to do the jailbreaking as well, right? Why actually jailbreaking is required and how we will be able to do the jailbreaking as well within our iPhone, right? So all of those specific things will be understanding in our today's session. Today we will not be taking up any complex things except that jailbreaking process, okay? Because as this is the first session, right, we will be starting up with the basics and then we will go forward with our complex topics as well. Okay, so typically that is the main thing which we'll be understanding in our today's session. Okay, so let us start up with our today's session. Before starting up, let us have a quick introduction. So my name is Keval. I will be your trainer for this particular iOS penetration testing sessions. When I started as an penetration tester itself, where I have handled the projects on web application penetration testing, API, Android and iOS applications, and the client application penetration testing. Okay. Currently, I am handling the projects on the application penetration testing side as well, along with the PCI DSS projects as well. So typically, whenever there is any specific type of payment device, right, there will be POS terminals, ATM terminals, right? There will be crypto hardware. So typically, I will be validating whether there is any kind of payment fraud which are happening there or not. Right? So basically, those are me mostly overall about me. When it comes to credentials, I'm CISM, CISA, ISO lead auditor, ISO lead implementer, CHFI, and CH. Okay, so overall most of the things about me. Now let us jump into iOS and deep dive into what actually are those specific things which make this particular architecture right, and why actually we require the penetration testing in the first place, and how we will be able to conduct the same thing. Okay, so the first thing is, before understanding what actually is iOS architecture and all of those things, let us have one particular thing much more clear, right? That is why exactly iOS penetration testing is required on the first place itself. So typically when it comes to any organization, right, organization will be having two types of applications. Okay, the first one will be public facing application, and second one will be internal applications or internal services. Okay, so when it comes to the public facing applications, right, these are the applications which they will be able to host within their environment, and anybody who is not in the same environment can also be able to access that particular application. Okay, something like we are connected via Zoom, right? So at that point of time, the Zoom application is hosted within their environment itself, but we are able to access it. We are able to make use of this application, and typically we are able to um, um, have access the functionalities of the application as well, right? Similarly, any of the application which is hosted within their environment and we will be able to access it within our environment, right, will be considered as a public facing application. Very common applications are normally web applications, right? Any specific type of thick client applications. Now, in case if anyone is not aware what actually is thick client application, currently we are installing Zoom within our system, right? So typically all those desktop applications, right, which we can use it and we can connect externally to say a separate server are considered as a thick client application. There will be Android applications, there will be iOS applications, there will be APIs, right? So all of this particular type of applications are considered as a public facing application. When it comes to internal applications, typically those applications which are hosted internally and can be accessed within the same environment will be considered as an internal applications itself. Okay, so now when it comes to attacker will not be trying to go to the physical location where the application is hosted, and they will not try to go ahead and try to access the application within the same environment and then go forward and try to exploit it, right? Because it will have many of the challenges for attacker to do the same, right? So what actually they will be trying to do is they will try to find any kind of vulnerabilities in public facing applications, trying to get the access of that server where the application is hosted, and then they can do the lateral movement to other servers or other systems which are in the same network. Okay, so typically that is the way how attacker will be going exploiting within the environment, and then they can proceed with the internal lateral movement and all of those things, right? So because of that particular reason, the risk for this particular external or public facing applications will be more compared to the normal internal applications, right? So that is why we are conducting penetration testing on the same, so that we can find the loopholes which are already available within the applications, and we can suggest them the recommendation, and we can make sure the application is doing all the activities securely itself, right? So that is the main reason why we will be conducting the penetration testing, or we need to conduct the penetration testing on this particular applications, right? The iOS applications or any public facing applications as such. Okay, so because of that particular reason, all the compliances, right, whatever are the compliances which our clients will be following, right, either they are within the GDPR or they are within PCI, or whether they are following NIST standard, okay, or ISO standard, or they are following some rules or of RBI or any particular compliance or governance, right? Typically, they will be having that particular requirement that they need to do, or they need to have some third party assess their public facing applications on an annual basis. So, and they need to get the clear report so that their organization can get compliant to specific standards or those specific type of things. Okay, so that is the main requirement in the first place, right? Because of which we will be getting the projects, right? Or basically we will be required to conduct the penetration testing on those applications. Now, if that is clear, let us jump into the iOS, right? And basically understand what actually is the architecture and what are the basic parts on how actually the device will be working, and if application is installed, how actually it will be working. Okay, so that that particular part will be clear. We'll be able to, like, that will be much more helpful for us whenever we will be going through the testing on those applications as well. Okay, so when it comes to iOS architecture, okay, typically this will be, as you guys will be aware of it, right? Typically this is iOS is an operating system which will be available on Apple devices, right? This is the thing which normally every one of you will be aware of, right? Because you might have done some research before joining this session, right? You already know how much iOS devices and iOS applications are in use nowadays, right? So typically, most of the people will be having those specific devices and all of those things, and they will be using, right, some or another application within their normal usage. Now, when it comes to the architecture, typically the architecture will be divided into 4 parts. Okay, the first one is Cocoa Touch, then media, then core services, and core operating system layer. So when it comes to Cocoa Touch, right, so basically this is the one which we will be able to consider, right? Basically, when it comes to the application will be able to use the GUI layer, okay, with the use of this particular layer, right? They will be able to use the GUI interface, right, with this particular layer of the operating system. Okay, so basically what actually application will be having the functionality, what actually are the things which it will be able to take from here. It will be able to work within the background, right? It will be able to share us those notifications. It will be able to provide us that touch functionality, right? All of those specific things will be able to be done by the application if it is able to interact with this particular layer within our operating system. Then next one will be media, typically media where it will be where we will be able to see the videos, graphics and audio, right? So typically it will be making use of our the processor, and typically it will be able to access those specific things. And whenever we are seeing those applications where we can execute, like we can see the videos and we can listen to the audio, typically it will be able to use this particular layer within the operating system, and basically it will be able to it will be able to give us that functionalities. The next one will be core services, right? So typically here it will be able to identify and use the Apple specific services, something like whenever we are trying to purchase something, right? We are trying to use the keychain, we are trying to use, or application is trying to use the iCloud storage, or it is trying to use the file functionalities, right, where it will be storing the file. So all of those specific things will be available within the core services. So at that point of time, whatever are the specific Apple related services, right, it will, like, application will be able to use whenever it is interacting with the core services. And then there will be core OS. So typically here it will be like hardware level security, where it will be having the specific it will be able to use the threads, and it will be able to use the memory space, right? All of those specific things will be available within this particular layer. So typically overall we will be able to divide the full iOS operating system into this 4 layers, right? And will application will be able to use those specific things. Now again, we can go more in depth, right? Whenever these layers are available, each and every functionality will be having its own sub layer, right? But for now, this is more than enough for us to understand. And later on, while doing the penetration testing, right, we'll be digging deeper to what actually is the sub layer of each and every layer, and how actually it deals with the application deals with that layer, and how we'll be able to identify the vulnerabilities from that particular place, right? So all of those things will be understanding in our next sessions as well. Now, the next thing is a very important thing, which is iOS device encryptions. So typically what happens is when it comes to iOS device, okay, so it will be having a specific certificate. Okay, we can call it as a root CA certificate. Now this is much more similar to Android as well. In Android also there is a root CA certificate which is available. There will be a public key, and typically it will be available whenever the device is manufactured. Okay, so whenever there is a device is manufactured, they will be implementing a specific unique key, okay, which we can call it as an Apple root CA key, okay, public key. Now what actually it will be used while using the device, typically whenever we are using any kind of applications, right, whenever we are having the device, right, it will be able to specifically identify that this is the unique device. Now whenever you are installing the application, right, now at that point of time they will be cross verifying that which particular device, right, what is the device, that particular key which is trying to request for that particular application, right? So all of those specific things will be done based on that key itself, which will be used during that manufacture, right, which is will be implemented during the manufacture. Now this key will be very much unique, and we cannot remove it because it is implemented on a hardware level. So actually we will not be able to modify it or remove it, right, or even view that particular key in case if we require. So basically that will be much more secure and it will be kept like that itself. Whenever the developers are developing the application, typically what they will be doing is they will be signing the application based on their key, right? So once the application is getting installed, it will be matching both of those specific keys, and those keys will be stored within the secure enclave, right? This is a kernel level distribution where that particular key will be installed, like a key will be downloaded and kept. Okay, so whenever we are using the application, typically that particular keys will be verified and then only we will be able to get. Now in case if you are trying to, now in Android, right, it is very common, or they have given us that functionality where we can install the third-party applications as well, which are not in Play Store, right? Here that particular thing is not possible because of this particular reason itself, that whenever they are verifying, right, these keys are very much strictly implemented on the hardware level. So at that point of time it is stored within the kernel distribution, right? So at that point of time there is no way from which we will be able to like modify those specific keys until and unless the device is not jailbroken, right? If we are trying, if we are breaking it, right, if typically will be able to get that particular things and will be able to modify the specific details which we want. But typically until and unless if it is not jailbroken, we will not be able to go forward and add we will be understanding this particular topic again as well. Okay, so because of that particular reason, we will be having the applications, right, that we will be having the unique validation, okay, while installation, and then only we'll be able to install it. Okay, let us revise this particular thing once more. What happens is when it comes to the device, each and every device which will be having, it will it will be having the specific key which will be implemented while the device is in manufacture. Okay, so at that point of time they will be having one particular unique key which will be responsible for us to manage that particular, or for the device to manage it uniqueness from the Apple servers as well. So whenever we are trying to download any application, right, what Apple, like what this device will be doing is it will be requesting with that specific key, and based on that, the servers will be able to identify that, okay, there is this particular key or there is this particular device who is requesting for this specific application, and it will match with the developer, like the application, right, what actually is the application, and when it comes to the developers, right, so at that point of time while developing that particular application, they will be signing the application with their own private key. So typically they will be matching those specific keys, and based on that those specific things will be stored within our device kernel level distribution, which we can, like, which they are calling it as secure enclave. And because of that matching, typically here it is not possible for the device, right, if it is not jailbroken, typically we will not be able to install any kind of third-party applications because the keys will be mismatched, and basically if the keys are mismatched, typically the application or the device will not allow us to install any kind of third-party applications, right? So whenever you see normally the Android devices, typically what will happen is we can install the third-party applications and all of those kind of things because they are allowing us to do those specific things. But here, typically, as it is, all the things are on a hardware level basis, right? Here, those specific things are not allowed. More on that secure enclave, right? So what actually is secure enclave? It is nothing but a specific space where all the sensitive data is stored, right? What can be the sensitive data? Typically, whenever you are storing the passwords in your device, right, you are storing your passwords in your Safari browser. Now here I'm not talking about if in case if you have installed Chrome or Firefox and you are storing that particular passwords, right, it might be storing it in some another places, right, in some temporary files or other places. But here I'm talking about those specific applications which are Apple specific, right? Whenever you are storing the passwords in your Safari browser, or you are storing some kind of sensitive details like your credit card and debit card details in your Apple Pay, right? or you are having your touch ID or face ID, right? So all of these particular things, along with in applications, right? Applications they will be storing their own key sets to properly function, right? They will be storing their credentials, which they will be utilizing to the server, right? To connect with the server. So all of those specific things will be stored in the secure enclave. Now, in the secure enclave, basically, this particular things will be stored within the keychain, right? So basically the name which we will be utilizing later on, right? Where all of those specific things will be stored is the keychain. What keychain will be doing is typically it will be able to fetch the sensitive details. It will be able to decrypt the sensitive details from secure enclave, and it will be able to share the same details with the application or the user, whoever is requiring at what point of time, right? So basically, if we are trying to, for example, if I am trying to log in to one of the application, and the browser like in my browser, right, which is Safari browser, has those credentials already stored within the Safari, right? So typically what Safari will be doing is Safari will be utilizing keychain. Keychain will be encrypting that particular details, and it will be storing within secure enclave, right, which is kernel level space where typically all of those details are stored. So once it is stored there, right, so typically that will be in a secure manner, which will not be accessed by any other application, right? Every application will be having its own specific things which are separate, so they will not be able to access, like other applications, if they are trying to access, they will not be able to access. Now, if I am trying to log into the site, right, what will happen is, again, right, whenever I'm trying to click on autofill password or those things, right, so at that point of time, what will happen is my device, right, my browser will be requiring me to authenticate either from Face ID or Touch ID. So typically, my Touch ID will be used by keychain to decrypt that particular data, okay, which is my user ID and password. It will take that particular details, it with the decrypted details, and it will fill it within the application. It will send the same details within the application, and application will be able to log me in, right? So this is how those specific things will be working, okay? So typically, whenever we are storing this kind of sensitive data, right, our facial recognition data, right, touch ID, right, your fingerprint data, if it is, if your phone is having touch ID, your credentials within your browser and all of those things, application related sensitive data, our sensitive data, right, our health records, okay, which we can store it in the health app, right, in iOS. In Apple Pay, if you are storing some kind of credit card or debit card. So all of those specific things will be available within the secure enclave. Everything will be in a container itself. So one application can access its own container, right? Typically, it will be able to access its own isolated memory space, and it will not be able to access any the other applications isolated memory space, right? So this is how those specific things will be available. During our penetration testing as well, we will be seeing, right, how actually application stores that particular data within the real-time basis, and we will try to fetch whether it is leaking out the encrypted details from keychain or not, right, while transmission. So those specific things will be understanding. But any doubts, any queries till now? No? Okay. So next thing is the iOS file system and sandboxing, right? So typically, first of all, what actually is sandbox, and how iOS on an overall basis keeps this application level files, okay? So now this is the main difference between iOS and Android, right? Now here we are not debating which one is more secure and those kind of things, but yeah, based on the architecture, you guys might be able to identify that what actually iOS does and how it is different from Android. So when it comes to any specific type of application, whenever you are installing it, typically application will be having its own separate folder space, okay, which will be accessed by the specific application itself, okay? So when it comes to the iOS folder, right, so typically it will be having the main system level folders. Okay, so basically here this is type of a Linux based system, so here we will call it as a directory. Okay, and it is same as folder itself, right? It is just a difference in terminology. So there will be the photos separate folder, right, which is the photos application. There will be a mails specific application folder where the operating system level, whatever are the things which are available, right? So those specific folders will be available below the root folder. Then there will be a specific folder called apps, and within that typically the application level folders will be available. Now these are that much isolated that one particular folder, even though if you are trying to check, typically here the naming convention of that folder will not be same as application. For example, today I have installed, okay, one application called Facebook, right? So here the name, so iOS, what it will do, it will create a separate folder for Facebook itself, which only that application has access to, right? Other applications will not be having access to this particular folder or any of the subfolder which is created below that. Okay, so now what will be happening here is the name will not be Facebook. It will be generating a very random name. It will be almost 32 to 64 characters of name. Okay, it will be totally random, and each and every folders which are below that, right, will be having the specific whatever are the names which are set up, right, within the application. Those specific things will be available. Okay, so typically it will be in a randomized manner. Now whenever we are going through the application folders, and we will be trying to check whether there is any kind of temporary files and whether the temporary files are leaking those data or not, you will be able to get a practical exposure as well, that how the folders are stated, like how the folders are shown in the specific how it is created and all of those kind of things. But typically those the name of the folders will be totally random. Now that name will only be known by that application itself, right? So it will be having that particular access to the folder, and that name will be known by that application itself. Other applications will not be even knowing that particular name of the folder which this application is trying to access. Another thing will be the specific access, right? That is what we can call it as in sandboxing. Okay, it is type of a containment that only one particular application who has access to it, only that will be able to access. Other folders, right, other applications will not be able to access. And there it will be having the specific details, right, where it will be able to create the temporary folders, temporary files. Okay, all the things which it has, the cache and preferences, right, configuration files, the application executable file. Okay, any specific type of screenshots or whatever they want to add, right? So all of those specific things will be available within that particular applications folder itself. Okay, so here it will be storing in that particular format, and based on that those specific details will be available within that folder itself, right? So this is how the iOS file system will be working. It is much more similar to Linux system, right? There might be few of the changes that here the binary file is also available within the place, right, within the application folder itself. So basically those specific few minor changes will be there, but again it is based out of Linux itself, right, because iOS on and whole is based out of Linux operating system itself, right? That's why. So this is how it will be available, and we will be able to see. Now whenever you are opening your phone, right, as a non-jailbroken device, right, so at that point of time definitely you will not be able to see even this apps folder as well, right? Because definitely even as a user, right, we are not having access. Now if you are jailbreaking it and you are trying to install some third-party application which tries to access the list of folders, right, so at that point of time you will be able to have that access. Otherwise we will, like as a normal user, we even don't have the access of what actually that application is storing, right? So all of those specific things will be already built in by the application or operating system itself. Now next one is MVC, which is a model view controller. Now again this is the same thing which will be available in Android as well, and in Android also the exact same thing is available, right? When it comes to model will be containing all the things where the objects and parsers, right, the networking code and all of that particular things will be available, where typically the data will be available. Then it will be sending the data to view. Okay, so where we will be able to see the application, will be able to interact with the application, and then it will be having the controller, right? So controller will be where the logic will be available, right? So basically at that point of time, if we are clicking on any specific button, right, what function should be executed, right? So those specific things will be done in controller. Then again, it will go to model where it will be collecting the data, and then it will be able to show it to us, right? So this is how on an overall basis in backend, those specific applications will be designed. Now, next one is Touch ID or Face ID. So typically what actually are these things? Definitely you guys will be aware of what actually is Touch ID or Face ID, right? Whenever we are trying to authenticate ourselves with the use of our fingerprint, right? That is what the terminology Touch ID is given by Apple Inc, right? And whenever we are trying to authenticate with our facial recognition, right, they are telling it that this is called Face ID, right? So we are going to have the same terminology here. What actually it will be doing in backend, right? So typically it will be generating the specific encryption keys, right? So in our previous slide, right, we had understood regarding the secure enclave, right, where all this data will be stored, all of this sensitive data will be stored, right? The same way. So typically what will happen is your Face ID data, right, or your Touch ID data will be stored here itself. It will be having the set of encrypted keys which will be generated whenever you are first time setting up those specific things. From that time onwards, that particular encryption keys will be generated, and that particular keys will be used to encrypt and decrypt the data which keychain will be taking from the secure enclave. Okay, now that is the normal thing which Touch ID and Face ID will be doing. Again, on top of it, right, whenever you are having some kind of incorrect tries, right, for example, after 5 consecutive failures, right, what will happen is typically both of them will be removed, right? The encryption keys which will be used, they will be removed, and then you need to manually enter. So many times you might have seen that whenever you are turning off light and whenever you are rebooting your phone, okay, first time your Touch ID or Face ID will not work. Now in case if you guys might not have noticed, you can notice after this session as well. Okay, don't do it currently because we are understanding those topics, so your attention might go away, right, from this session to your phone. After this session you might do it, give it a try. So typically what happens is whenever you are rebooting your device, right, for the first time you need to enter your manual credentials, and then only your Touch ID or Face ID will be activated, right? In case if you are executing, like if you are entering or if someone is entering within your phone, right, 4 to 5 times incorrect passwords or incorrect pin, right? So at that point of time also, then even though they are trying to enter the correct pin, it will not work for that time, right? So at that point of time, if they are trying to enter that in like their Touch ID, right, which is not authenticated with added within your device, right, for some, like for a specific amount of times, typically after that, even if you are trying to enter it, definitely it will not work, and then you need to enter your manual password, and then only it will start working, right? So why actually those specific things are happening? Because whenever this encryption keys are generated, right, so whenever we are entering our manual pin, right, which you have set up, so at that point of time, after rebooting device or whenever you are first time setting up, it will generate a new encryption key, right? And while the device is on, right, and while it is successfully used, your Face ID and Touch ID will be working because that keys are in use, right? Now once you are rebooting it, that keys will be gone, right? So at that point of time, you will not be able to use your Touch ID or Face ID for that like for the first time, right, once you are rebooting it, because that encryption keys are deleted. And now once you are entering your manual password, once like one manual pin for first time, then you will be able to go forward and it will generate the keys, and then you will be able to use your Touch ID or Face ID, right? So because of that particular reason, right, because whenever the keys are generated, right, these keys are not specific, right? These keys are not generated for lifelong, right? They are not generated for a long amount of time. It will be like this way, keys will be already deleted, right? Once you are entering some in like consecutive amount of failures, right? Or you are rebooting your password, you rebooting your phone, and those specific type of things, this keys will be deleted. And once you are entering your correct password, the new keys will be generated, right? How actually this will make the device much more secure, because typically, in case if it is in the wrong hands, they will not be able to use your face or those kind of things, right? And they will not be able to have the access of your device as well, right? So typically, whenever there is the device restart, the keys will be regenerated, right? Whenever there is long inactivities, right? For example, you are not having the access of device for somewhere around 20 more than 2 days, right? So at that point of time, again, the keys will be deleted. If you are entering some new fingerprints or new face ID within your device, again, it will be deleted. If you have reported your device via Find My iPhone functionality, again, it will be deleted. And typically, until and unless the correct PIN or password is not entered, they will not be generated at that point of time. Then the next thing is iOS secure boot chain. So typically what happens here is whenever the security is implemented, it is implemented from the boot level itself, right? Whenever the device is started, right, it will be loading all the operating system features. So all of those specific security are available from the kernel level, boot level itself, right? So because of that particular reason, the routing process, right, the tethering, like the jailbreaking process is getting much more harder on a day-by-day basis, because all the security features are from the boot level, and that is typically from the hardware level itself, and that is very hard to break at that point of time. So typically, when it comes to any kind of trusting, so what will happen is we need to implement all those specific trusting features and all the keys whenever they are added, right? So they will be added from the ROM level itself, and based on that, the bootloader will be loading those specific things, and then they will be able to get the details. So typically, that is why all of these particular things are in place, right? And we will be able to get the things. Now, this thing is much more important. Why exactly? Because whenever we will be trying to modify the applications, and we will try to add the applications, right? This thing will be coming into place. Again, it is much more similar to the Android process in case if you have done Android penetration testing. But when it comes to the applications, right? Application developers needs to go through the signing process, okay? Whenever they are releasing the application, okay? So typically, firstly, there will be an original source code, right, which application developers will be developing, right, and they will be adding the functionality. What will happen is one hash of that code will be generated. Okay, hash is nothing but a specific unique string for a specific code. Okay, so typically hashes will be very much unique for the data which is available, right? So typically they have entered a specific code. So what will happen is they will be able to generate a hash based on the hashing algorithm. Okay, now here that code will be verified, and based on that, based on the developer, right, who has bought their own they have created their own account with Apple, right? So they will be assigned a specific key. So if I am a developer and I want to release the application, typically I need to create an account with Apple, right? And I need to pay some amount. Okay, so at that point of time, I will be able to go forward and create the applications and upload the applications within Apple Store. So once I'm creating the amount, like once I'm creating the account and I'm paying the specific amount, so typically at that point of time, what will happen is they will be giving me a key. With that particular key, I will be signing the application, right? So at that point of time, that application will be specific to my account. And then that signed code I will be uploading to Apple App Store. They will be validating the key. They will be verifying those specific hash code, and based on that, they will be able to add the application within the process as well. Okay. So now when it comes to our process, whenever we will be extracting the applications and we will be trying to modify it, right? So at that point of time, that key which was with the developer, right, we will not be having that key because it will be removed, right, whenever we are trying to modify the application. So at that point of time, we will be using some proprietary tools where they will be generating the keys for us, and we can sign that code. Okay, again, that will not be uploaded to App Store, but yeah, we within our local device, right, if we want to install, we can install it for our test cases. So basically that is the signing process which will be available. Okay, and what actually it will make much more secure because of this hash code and signing, right? Any kind of malicious actors, right, they will not be able to publish their own code, right? Or they will, like any kind of other people who wants to copy the full exact code, right, they will not be able to copy the code, and they will not be able to take someone else's application and make it their own application, right? And this code will be also validated when you are installing the application, right? So if it is a valid code which is available in Apple's database, okay, so then only it will be allowing us to install the application, else they will not be able to do that. Within next few minutes, I will show you that process as well, while I will be showing you the jailbreaking process, right? So I will show you that particular process, like I will show you that pop-up as well, that okay, this is how it looks because the signing code and the other certificates are not available. So at that point of time, you can get the real-time like you will be able to see the real-time scenario as well, that how it looks. But yeah, typically this is how the signing process will be available, and based on the signing process, the application will be installed itself. So this is all about the specific basics regarding the iOS, right? iOS architecture and all of those things. Let us revise it a bit, okay? And then we will discuss on any kind of queries or questions you guys have. And then we will move forward with our jailbreaking process as well. So the first thing is when it comes to the architecture, it is majorly divided, right, into 4 layers: 𝗏𝗏, media layer, core services, and core operating system. So basically, when it comes to the UI functionalities of the device, it will be able to take it from the application will be able to take it from this particular layer. Whenever it needs to have the graphics and audio and video, it will be able to use media layer. Whenever there is any kind of core services, right, Apple related services, storing the things within the files, using the Apple Pay, right, storing the details in iCloud. So all of those things will be within the core services, and within core operating system layer, all the memory allocation and having the access of network and all of those kind of things will be available here. Then there is device level encryption, right? So typically every device will be having their own specific Apple root CA public key, okay, which will be used during the full process. That is a hardware level key which cannot be modified or removed by any person until and unless they are modifying the chipset of the device. Next one is secure enclave. So secure enclave will be storing all the sensitive data which is available within the device, right? So typically it will be storing the keys, it will be storing the tokens, credentials, our sensitive health records, sensitive fees or touch data. All of those things will be stored within secure enclave. Whenever application requires that data in clear text, it will be using keychain, right? It will be keychain will be able to decrypt and send the clear data to the application, and they will be able to go forward and encrypt and store it again in case the data is updated. Then there is file system. So typically the file will be in a container type of things, right, where the file will be isolated and the file can only be accessed by the specific application only, right? So at that point of time, if application is storing some of your sensitive data, definitely that cannot be accessed by any other application, because the same application only has the access to that particular place, that memory addresses. Next one is MVC. MVC is model view controller. Model will be where the data will be stored, right? Which will be available, like which will be able to see it with the view layer, and then there will be controller where the logic will be executed. Then there is Touch ID and Face ID, right? So typically, we will be able to use this particular functionalities based on our biometrics. Typically, this data will be stored within the secure enclave. Whenever we are authenticating for the first time, the new set of keys will be generated, and then it will be used for encryption or decryption of the data which we will be trying to get from keychain. Then there is secure boot chain, right? So basically all these things which we have discussed, right, are based on the boot level itself. So at that point of time, because of that reason, it is very difficult to go forward and get that details, or it is difficult for the other applications to get the sensitive data from the device itself. Next one is application signing process. So typically whenever there is code, the hash will be generated, then it will be encrypted with a private key. Then based on the certificate and the key of the developer, the full code will be signed, and that signed code will be used, right, converted into IPA file, which we will be installing within the device. While installation, those specific keys will be validated, and based on that validation, it will allow us to install, okay, or it will remove that particular things. So this is all about the basics. Okay, now more and more we will be understanding whenever we are going through the penetration testing stage. But any doubts, any queries till now, anyone? No doubts? Okay. So now the first thing is, next thing is we will be understanding how to jailbreak our device. Okay. First of all, let us understand what actually is jailbreaking, why it is required, what are the types of jailbreaking, and then I will show you how to jailbreak the device as well. Okay. So first of all, what actually is jailbreaking? Now, whenever we are having our device, right? Whenever you are using the device on a normal scenario, typically your device will not be having administrative level permissions. Okay, so you will not be able to access some kind of this internal file structure, right? You will not be able to access what actually is the data which is stored within the application, right? You will not be able to access what actually application is doing on a real time. You will not be able to identify what all processes it is having, right? So all of those kind of things we will not be able to identify, because we are not having that level of privileges where we can access those specific things within the device. So jailbreaking the device is nothing but getting those specific permissions so that we can actually identify what actually application is doing within the device, and we can go forward and identify whether there is any kind of vulnerabilities or not. Okay. So whenever we are doing the penetration testing, jailbreaking is much more required, right? Because we need to conduct some kind of modifications based, like for example, we need to disable SSL pinning, right? We need to disable the root detection, right? We need to disable, or we need to get that particular request. We need to see what actually are the things which are available in real time, which kind of functionalities are getting worked upon. We need to get the code of the application, right? So that we can validate whether there is any kind of hard-coded sensitive data or not. We need to access that folder where application is storing all the details so that we can identify whether there is any kind of sensitive data which is stored or not. We need to access this local database, right? Local device database which application is using, so that application will be like we can identify whether within the local database, right, within our iPhone's database, right, it is storing some kind of sensitive data or not. So all of this access we will be getting if we are jailbreaking the device. Okay, so typically that is the main reason why we need to jailbreak before we start up with our penetration testing. Now, what actually are the types of jailbreaking? Now, overall, we can consider it as 4 types of jailbreak, but the main thing will be 2 types of jailbreak itself, which is tethered and untethered, right? Tethered jailbreaking means you will be getting the root access permanently within the device. So even though if you are rebooting your device, typically your access will not be revoked. Okay. Untethered jailbreak means you will be having the temporary root access. Okay, and whenever you are rebooting your device, your root access will be revoked, and your phone will be working as normal, right? Where you will not be having the root access, but you will be having the normal access itself, right? What we are going to see here will be untethered itself, because whenever you are doing the tethered jailbreak, in case if you are going to Apple Store, if your phone has some kind of issues later on, right? Or if your phone is cracked and you are going to service center, they are not going to accept it because it is untethered, right? Because it is tethered, right? You have done modification from operating system level, so because of that particular reason, those specific things will be there. And many of the exploits, that many of the versions of operating system does not have that exploits where it can give us the tethered access. Okay, so typically how actually this jailbreaking process will be working, whenever there is any specific type of vulnerability which is found in that version of operating system, what they will do is they will the researchers will create an exploit, okay, which can give us that particular access, and based on that access we will be able to say that okay, this particular phone is jailbroken, right? It is nothing but exploitation of a vulnerability and execution of code, right? Or execution of our exploit by utilizing or misusing that vulnerability, right? It is the same thing which is happening here, right, for jailbreaking. So many of the version of our operating system, right? For example, we might be using iOS 12.1.0, 12.00.0.0, or so any of the version which is available. So at that point of time, most of the versions does not have that exploit where we can get the tethered jailbreaking, right? So typically, for most of the versions, untethered jailbreak is possible on a much more level. But yeah, in case if it is tethered, the process will be same. Okay, there is no difference in the process, but yeah, the exploit will be different based on the operating system to operating system version. Okay, so this is the main reason why we need to jailbreak the phone, okay, so that we can start up with our testing. Without jailbreaking, we will not be able to use it. One more clarification, right? In case we want to do the penetration testing on these applications, iOS applications, we need to have both of the device, which is MacBook and iPhone, right? If you are not having any one of those device, right, it will not be as simple as Android penetration testing, where we have taken some simulated environment like Genymotion and so, right, and we can install the applications there, or those things will not be possible here, right? We will be requiring a device which is a jailbroken device. We'll be requiring a MacBook, right? And both of those things will be used to do the penetration testing. So in case if we are not having, right, we will not be able to complete our projects as well. So now how actually we can jailbreak, right? So there are multiple ways, and again I will be sharing you the step-by-step process with you guys, right? I will be sharing you the resource which I am having. Again, our tomorrow's full session is dedicated for jailbreaking for you guys, right? So at that point of time, typically in a real time, we will be going through one by one, all of you, and we will be jailbreaking your devices. Okay, so don't worry about it. I will be showing you in my device in today's session, and tomorrow's session is dedicated for you guys, where we will be jailbreaking your device itself. Okay, because why actually we are investing one session in this particular step, because every, like, in case if you are having iOS version 13, right? So typically what will happen is your jailbreaking process might be slightly different from mine, right? If you are having iOS 14, definitely your jailbreaking things will be slightly different than mine, right? So just so that you don't get or overwhelmed, right, in this process, or you don't get confused in the process, typically we will be going through all of you, and we will, like, one by one will be taking up your devices. Okay, and you can share your screen, and basically we will go forward with the jailbreaking process. Okay, now just before we start the jailbreaking process in my device, right? Can you guys confirm which device you are having, right? Which operating system version you are having, so that in case if I need some another exploit or something like that, I can share it with you guys, right, within tomorrow's session, and you guys can easily do the jailbreaking in your device as well. So you guys can start alphabetically. I can see there are two persons with A, Abhishek and Arpita, and then there is B and R, right? Which device? Now, in case if you guys are not aware where you can find the version, so let me just share it with you. Let's see. So in my scenario, what we need to do is in your phone, you can go to settings. Okay, you can go all the way. You can go down here. There will be general. Okay, so typically there is general. You can go to general. You can go to about. Okay, so within about, you will be able to see this option, which is software version. Okay, currently I'm using iPhone 6 to show it like as a demo phone to show all these practicals to you guys. Same thing will be happening there as well. So basically here I will be using iOS 12.4.8, which is the default one which is coming up there. So to show it the practicals to you guys, right? The same thing. So for my version, it is 12.4.8. So you guys can tell one by one what actually is your version. So I have gotten from Abhishek, it is 16.5.1. I believe this is the latest one, right? I'm not sure, Abhishek.
Yes, Keval.
If this one will have, is this your normal device or you have bought it for testing purposes?
No, that's actually a normal device. 2 days back, I received the update.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me check if this version has some exploit. If it is having the exploit, right, definitely we will be exploiting it and we will be doing the jailbreak. But in case if it is not there, we need to degrade our operating system and then we need to jailbreak.
So, Keval, just a quick question. That do we can jailbreak the devices which are near to the latest, iOS updates or iOS version? Let's take an example. If it's not 16.5, if it's like 15 or 16 net, then still we can jailbreak them.
Yeah, it is possible. It is just matter of time, right? For example, now currently 16.5, 5.1 and 16.6 are latest one, right? So there might be possibility where the exploit is not yet prepared, right? But within some time, for example, within next few days or few weeks, right, that particular exploit will be released and we can utilize them and we can exploit it. But yeah, it is totally new, right? For example, today only there was some critical security patch which was installed, right? In my device it was installed, my other device. So definitely, like if it is installed today, definitely that exploit will not be still available, right? So for that one we need to wait for some time, or else we can degrade it to 15 or 15.5, something like older operating system, and then we can jailbreak it like this.
Okay.
So next one is Arpita, and you are having 12.5.7. Next one is Ronak, 16.6. Okay. And Pujita, which version do you have? In case if you are speaking, you are on mute, or else you can just share it over the chat window as well. Okay, so currently you can see if I show you. So typically currently this device which I am showing you is a jailbroken device, right? So I can open this 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶, okay, and all of like what actually is 𝗔𝗃𝗶, what we will be using with the use of, like what we'll be doing with the use of 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶 and 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶 and 𝗢𝗽𝗁𝗶 and all of those things I will be explaining to you in our next session, like next to next session itself. But typically these are the tools which can work on jailbroken device itself, right? If my device is not jailbroken, I will not be able to use CD or all of those things. So now what I will do is I will reboot this device in front of you guys, okay? And then the device will not be jailbroken. I will be, like, my access will be revoked, and then I will show it to you guys how to jailbreak on a real-time basis itself, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm just rebooting the device. And it will be started in a bit. So what actually we'll be using is we'll be using one of the tool called 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗃. Okay, so typically what we will do is we'll go to this one, and all of this, right, the PPT which I'm showing it to you guys, this document, right, the step-by-step process document, all these resources will be shared it with you guys. Okay, so after the sessions, right, not exactly after the session, but yeah, within the same day or next day, typically management will be sharing you guys all the resources so that you can have everything handy and you can work with that. So typically whenever we will be having, right, we will be able to go forward and we will be able to go with this 𝗔𝗃𝗏, right? We will go to beta. So we'll be selecting this option, which is get the beta now. And here you'll be able to see which one, right? And you'll also be able to see which devices and which architecture, right, is supported. Okay, for example, here A9 devices, A11 chip, right, iOS 14 devices, all of those specific things will be available, right? And you can also see all releases where there will be the specific things, right? So for macOS or Linux, so basically we can install it within the Linux operating system or Mac, and we can install it. What we'll be doing is we'll be clicking on this option, which is download for macOS. Okay, so it will not be a big file, it will be somewhere around 7 MB file, and I have already downloaded it. Okay, so that I can show it to you guys, and we don't wait for the file to download during our live session. Okay, so what we will be doing is we will go to that particular DMG file. Now DMG file are those specific files where we will be able to install, like these are the installer files, right? We will just double click on that. Okay, and it will be available something like this, where we can take up the application and we will be installing it, right? So typically this is what we are installing in our Mac operating system, right? This is what we are installing in our laptop, right? We are not installing this thing within our iPhone currently. Okay, now I will not be able to share all of my phone screen currently, because still it is rebooted and all of those things, right? My device is revoked, right? So let me just reshare my screen and show it to you quickly that the iPhone, like the permissions are revoked. So let me just do that quickly. I will. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Now if I open the same application, right, so here you can see CDI is there, right? Previously it was getting open, right, because my device was a jailbroken device, right? So now if I open any of this application, right, Snoopit is there, it is not opening. Side down is there, it is not opening, right? CDI, which I have opened and show it to you guys, not opening. 𝗶𝗏𝗶𝗶𝗶, not opening, right? 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗶, not opening, because the permissions are revoked. As it was untethered jailbreak, the permissions are revoked, right? So I will not be able to use this applications which requires device to be jailbroken. So what we will do, we will utilize this 𝗔𝗃𝗏𝗏 application to jailbreak our device. Okay, so what I will do is, first of all, I will install this application within my laptop. Okay, so I will go forward and install it. So we just need to drag and drop here. Once it is done, okay, we will just search it over Spotlight 𝗔𝗃𝗏𝗏. Okay, and here it will be available, but you can see it is not allowing us, right, because the developer is not verified. right? And this is what I was talking some time back, right? That signature and all of those things, right? So typically, if the signature is not matching or if it is not having the signature, it will not allow us, right? What we will do is we will allow it manually. Okay. So typically what we will do is we will go to our settings, general settings. So we will go to system settings, and in system settings, we will go to security and privacy. So privacy and security. General, or we will just search directly for security and privacy settings. Okay, and there we will be able to go forward and manually allow it. So let me settings, and we'll go to privacy and security. And here, so basically in privacy and security, if you scroll down, you are able to see that application, right? Which is 𝗔𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗃 was blocked because from use because it was not identified developed, right? What we are going to do, we will just click on open anyway. Once it is done, it will ask us for our verification. So here it is asking for my touch ID, right? Again, this is from the MacBook itself. We are not doing anything yet within our phone. Okay, we will click on open. So once it is done, right? So typically here this tool will be available, and what actually it will do, it will take our device, and it will in the reboot mode, right? Basically it will go forward, like it will send, right? And basically there it will be trying to execute that exploit. So currently here you can see iOS 6, iOS like iPhone 6 and iOS, this is connected in a normal mode. What we will do is we will start here. Okay, so typically what it will do, it will put it in DFU mode, right? And where it will be trying to corrupt the system, and all of those things will be done, right? So we don't need to read through anything. We just need to click next. So it will start going to recovery mode. And here you can see my device is within the is in the recovery mode. Okay. Now, once the device is in recovery mode, what we need to do is we need to follow the instructions itself. So here we will click on start. Then the next instruction is we need to press the hold and home button, right? Like basically the side button and home button together for 4 seconds, and then we need to remove the side button and keep pressing home button for next 10 seconds, right? Now, if you are having the phone which is not having the home button, right, you will be having both of the side buttons, right? The lock screen button and the side like volume up button. So those specific two buttons will be there. Okay, in this home button is there, so that's why the recovery mode is something like this. I will show you if I am not doing that this the same process, what actually will happen, and then I will show you if I am doing the same process, what actually will happen. Okay, I will start it and I will press both of the keys. Okay, now I will not hold it for some seconds, and I'm not holding it. Okay, so what actually it will happen is definitely it is going to fail, right? So for failing, what actually will happen, right? So that is what we will be seeing. So typically what will happen is it will show us that we need to retry, and we can do the same step. So here you can see retry option came up, right? So likewise, so again it will send the recovery. So in case if you are messing up, right, you will not be having any kind of issues. So typically it will restart that process. Okay, now I will do the same process which they are telling, and we will go through it, and we will see whether it is doing the jailbreak or not. So we'll click on start. We'll press both of the buttons together. Now it is done. Now we will just release it. Okay, I mistakenly update. Let me just retry it for once. Let us retry for once more. It will again send it in recovery mode. We will wait for a few seconds and we will do the same process, and then we will be able to execute it. We'll click on start. We will press both of those things. Now I will release the side button and I am still holding the home button, right? And I will keep on holding for next 2 seconds. Now it is done, and here you can see the jailbreak was done and it is booting my device, and then we will go ahead and we will see how the device looks now. Okay, so once it is done, right now my phone is showing something where the 𝗔𝗃𝗏𝗯𝗹𝗲 logo is there and it is booting into that particular process, and there is some code which is going on, right? I cannot show it to you because this is on in booting mode, right? I cannot share the screen, but yeah, typically there is something which is going on the phone. That is what you can understand. We'll click on done, and now the phone is phone has been started, right? What I will do is I will start sharing my screen once more, my phone screen. So let me just open this one and let me just share my screen once more. And now you can see my phone is up and running. I will go to Cydia and you can see Cydia is loading, right? Previously it was directly getting closed, right? So now you can see, I can see what all are the things. So for example, 𝗓𝗏 has some updates, right? And all of those things, right? I can update my 𝗓𝗏 tool and all of those things, which we are definitely going to see later on, right? How to use 𝗓𝗏 and objection framework and all of those things on our later sessions, how to use these tools and everything. But yeah, typically you can see that all of those things are there. I can check for the root path, like SSL bypass and all of those things, right? I can connect to from this phone to my Mac via SSH and all of those things. So typically all those things will be possible because the phone is jailbroken, right? So this is how we will be able to do it, right? Within the resources section, right, which I will be sharing it with you guys. I have mentioned 3 of the process. If first is not working, you can go with the second, and if second is not working, we will be going with the third one. Okay, so first one is with the use of 𝗔𝗃𝗏𝗯𝗹𝗃, which I have currently shown to you guys, right? The scene with each and every step. Okay, so basically going to this and going to the check run and then starting it and then holding and all of those things. Okay, now next thing is using uncover. This, it is one of the other tool, right, which is available, and again it is doing the jailbreaking process itself, right? But if first is not working, definitely first will be working for most of the times. But yeah, in case if first is not working, we'll be going through the second one. Again, all the things are given up. In case if you are having Windows system, you can use the second option. 𝗔𝗃𝗏𝗯𝗃𝗏 is not available for Windows, right? But uncover is available, so you can use that. So all of those things are available, right? How you can go forward and do that. And at last, in case if second is also not working, which is not that much possible, but yeah, if second is not working, then you can go with the third one, where if you have Windows operating system, right, and you want to do the jailbreak, you can do that. Okay, you need to install iCloud in your Windows operating system and then all store, and then you'll be able to do that. So all of those specific things are also available. Okay, I like management will be sharing this particular files with you guys, and then they will, like, you will be able to follow. But tomorrow's session anyhow is dedicated for the jailbreaking of your devices, right? So we will take one by one each and every person's, right, phone, within the screen sharing, and then what we will do is we'll try to jailbreak your phone itself. Okay, and then from the next session onwards, we'll be able to start up with our penetration testing. We'll be understanding how to do the reconnaissance, then static analysis, then dynamic analysis, and then reverse engineering. Okay, all of those specific things we'll be going through after that particular session. So this was all about today's session. Any doubts, any queries, anything in today's session, guys?
So, Kevil, just a quick query. Suppose if we are not going for a jailbreaking session and we'll try to brute force, okay, to access the passcode of the iPhone devices, okay, iOS devices. In that scenario, will I still be able to access the applications directly, or again we have to go for the theater jailbreaking version?
Correct. You will not be able to access the application details, right? Because as a normal user, we don't have that permissions altogether itself, right? If you open
So
your
root
files
access
app,
is required.
correct. If you open your files app, right, you will not see any of the like WhatsApp folder also, right? You will not be able to see that WhatsApp folder or Facebook folder or those kind of things, right? Because we are not having the process. So even though you are having the normal access, right, you will not be able to do that because even normal user does not have the access to those folders which applications are having. So that's why. But
Okay,
I would
so
recommend like
only
if you are using your personal device, right, and you are trying to access, right, so don't like have a specific, like in case if your organization is giving you a testing device or you are taking some testing device, do the testing on that testing device itself, because in your personal device you might be having some of your personal data, right? So that
correct
might be
at
not
risk.
good,
Yeah,
right? At
yeah,
risk,
yeah.
that's
Okay.
any doubts and queries.
And again, like, what is the most available version we have for this jailbreak, for which iOS latest version?
Latest one is I think 16. The exploit has been released. So latest one is
Okay.
16, but I have not personally checked whether it is successful or not, because many times, right, we need to do it multiple times, like 4 to 5 times to successfully exploit it. So I have not personally checked, but yeah, for 16 there is an exploit which is released already.
So that is again governed from 𝗔𝗃𝗏 or Uncover, or we have a
Yeah,
specific,
no, no,
okay,
no. They have updated their exploits based on the
exploits
16 version.
experts over there. Yeah, got it. Got it. Fair enough.
Yes. Any doubts, any queries, anything, guys? No. So that was it for today's session, guys. As discussed, we will be joining tomorrow. Okay, and we will be going through the jailbreaking process on your devices. Okay, so basically that is what the main agenda for tomorrow's session is. And then from next 12 sessions, we'll be going forward with our particular penetration testing stages, right? All the phases, starting like static and dynamic and reverse engineering. All of those phases will be going through. Okay.
Okay.
So any doubts, any queries, anything, anyone?
So Keval will be getting this recording, right?
You will be getting. I
Okay.
cannot assure you will be getting by today, because in the backend management will be doing lot of stuff, right? Noise cancellation and all of those kind of things. So it makes you'll be getting by tomorrow. So
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
yeah, 1 day of lag will be there, but yeah, you will be getting, all guys will be getting the recorded sessions as well as this resources as well, like PPTs, PDFs, all those things.
Perfect.
Yep. So that was it for today's session, guys. Let us join tomorrow and then we'll be learning the next things as well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Keval.
Have a great day.